Okay, Semper Supra, James Cooper Quantum Truths Foundation. I've just had a look at Humans as Prey, Pizzagate, etc. It is Saturday, the 16th, I think, just full moon time, super moon time here, November. Penwith, the furthest west in Cornwall that you can go. What happens when you go past Penzance? You go Scilly, which refers to the Scilly Isles, just over the water there, never been. Raising your frequency from the War Correspondent channel, which used to be called the News Channel. Things keep changing, but at least we're shaking out the deep state and those that don't have a keen eye. And some really interesting PDFs, some reports coming through, and I expect they're going to be coming through thick and fast as the weeks and months go on. Very interesting. It's saying that there are the reptilian, various ET, groups here, and they're interbreeding with humans, and we can't just wipe them out because there's too many humans that are part, that are interbred and all the rest of it. And so they're feeding on, they're feeding on our children. They have been feeding on our children and all that. So probably if you're listening to this, you kind of know about Pizzagate and adrenochrome and where it all, what's been going on. And basically I want to address something. It says we need to raise our frequency. We need to stop being light workers and be light warriors. And that makes perfect sense to me. And so as someone who's spent the last 30 years, the last 35 years, I'm 50 now, and I start actually with more than 35 years, 36, 37 years, I've been actively very keen on raising my frequency in yoga. It started when I was about 14. And I remember I was saying to my mother when I was 14, "Hello, William. Hello, darling. Come. I was saying to my mother, "Look, Mum, it's really important. Hey, baby. It's really important that we do pranayama." And so I would sit my mum down and in my bedroom, and we'd sit there on chairs and look out into the garden. And are you done now? You want to go around the back? Let's let William do what he does. And so I just sort of paint a picture. She didn't stick with it, but that was the sort of child I was. And I'll be very keen to find books about yoga. And I think probably I've always thought that I'm a reincarnated yogi who's come here, incarnated in the West, to do yoga at this critical juncture in the space-time continuum. William, what are you doing? Are you saying hello or not? I love cats so much. I think he's done. So I just thought I'd have a quick spiel. So as things come to mind, I sort of think about, like, okay, imagine, I see a lot of people that say, they're spiritual and this, that and the other. And so I'm seeing now like a fat person, okay? A fairly fat person that doesn't do physical exercise and perhaps eats a bit of meat here and there and isn't really that keen on the yogic diet, the sattvic diet. Sattva, you've got the three gunas, the three humours, which is rajas, tamas and sattva. Rajas is passion and fire. Tamas is inertia, sloth. And then you've got balance, which is sattva. So the yogi in everything they do is preoccupied with balance and sattva. So for example, the yogic diet is lacto-vegetarian. We don't want to eat things which inflame the passions, like say chili spices and meat. And we don't want to have things like dead food and mushrooms and things like that, which grow in the dark, because we're very keen on the whole balance thing. But as I said, there are some people who say, who feel they're above all that in a way. Oh well, I'm very intuitive. I'm a gifted empath. you know, and then I don't need to concern myself with that sort of thing. I'm quite happy with where I'm at, and I've always let them get on with that. But in my mind, I'm scratching my head going, how can you be a fat person and still, you know, yeah, you can be spiritual compared to a lot of people, and isn't this a strange rule? You can be spiritual up to a point, but I mean, if someone said to me now, hey James, you know, you can have £10 billion, but you've got to change your diet so that you become like a bit of a fat person, like this person I mentioned. There's no one in particular I'm thinking of, by the way, it's just, it comes to mind. I would no way do it, because for me, to be the person I am, someone who can easily flip my legs up into the lotus position for meditation, someone who can easily scale Lescudjak Hill as I'm doing now. You may notice I'm slightly, you know, breathing slightly deeper, but I can walk up this hill. I could walk up 10 of these hills. I walk about 8 miles a day, and it's nothing for me. And to not be that person would be horrific. So I've written quite a lot, and I've spoken quite a lot about it, about the importance of staying completely hydrated, as per Dr. Batmangalaj's water cure. He was the Shah of Iran's personal physician. Wonderful, wonderful man. And he said water is the cash flow of the body. Don't bankrupt yourself. And so if someone said to me, you've got to, you know, you can have the £1 billion, but you can only have, say, 1 litre of water a day, I would not take the £1 billion. No way. I wouldn't even be tempted. Or if someone said you've got to start eating sausages, the idea is patently ridiculous to me. No way. Of course I wouldn't do that. But a lot of people, you know, they just don't get that. So in my 5-point plan book, which you can download for free, simpletruthsme.uk/ebooks, and there's also the water therapy book there. The first 2 chapters of the 5-point plan cover the water therapy book. So if you decide to download them and have a look, I would say read the water therapy book, because it's well presented. There's more charts, graphs and infographics. BJ, one of the biggest natural health publishers in India, asked me to write these books. No, they asked me to write water therapy. I turned up with the manuscript to the 5-point plan. It was the first publishing house I went to. I was walking around Delhi on a very wet monsoon morning, and I popped into this publisher's, and it was the first one I went to, and they said, oh yeah, definitely. So from an author's point of view, that's quite rare, because normally you have to submit your manuscript to many publishers. So it was kind of meant to be. Have a look at it. Have a look at the diet chapter. Do you know, just as a sidetrack, this is Cornwall's largest castle, right here. Freemason types buried it for us. Have a look at the diet chapter, and I lay it out really simply, and there's even some nice recipes about the basics. It's the book that I wish I'd had access to when I when I became a teen. You know, you get spots, and I was living off absolute junk. My mother cooked fairly good food, you know, sort of normie food, but it was good, you know, it wasn't junk. But being who I was, I didn't want it, and so she gave up trying to get me to eat that food. She said, well, have whatever you want then. And so I used to have microwave burgers and ham sandwiches and stuff like that. I was just a difficult child. And then I started to get spots and constipated and all the rest. And then by the time I got to be about 18, during my first year at university, I had an older friend who was very keen on diet, and he educated me somewhat. And so I just switched, bang. And after 3 months, I had a deep tissue cleanse, and all this poison came out of me, and it was disgusting. I've never known such itchy skin. It was absolutely horrible. St. Michael's Mount ley lines crossing all around us. There's all sorts going on around here. So I often come up I'm sensitive to energies. That's why I would hate to have to not drink enough water, or hate to have to start eating meat again, because I know what I would be sacrificing. So if you look at that chapter, you can see what you need to know about acid-alkaline balance, raw is more, the dangers of eating meat, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really glad that the USSF crew have now pointed that out. And my message for those people that believe themselves, and no doubt are, light workers, I'm going to echo what we were told today, what I learnt today. Be light warriors. Actually go out there and claim your own frequency, because we're really moving through a portal at the moment. And so we've got these negative beings, and we've got people who've been feeding on children and that kind of really shocking stuff, and the world is going to learn all about that, and they're going to change as a result. So the idea is that we really start to become a lot more healthy, and then, as I plan to do, move into a sleepless breatharian existence, like apparently the Tartarians who built this town apparently were. They had mastered all that. I don't know too much about it, but ever since my earliest memories, really, I've always had this idea that I would like to not sleep at all and not eat. And I've learned over the years that very often, well, but it's the act of eating, it's the act of digestion, that makes us sleep, and it actually kills us. As you live through food, so too you will die through food. And this is where people's eyes glaze over and they just can't believe what I'm saying. But now I'm saying it again, and I think people will start to believe me more. So raise your frequency as if your life depended on it, because the future, over the next few years, I don't know how long this whole thing's going to take. I just don't know. But we're going to really need to pick up our, fill ourselves up by the socks, or however they say it, and we just need to get our act together. So I won't go into the details of it, but the hydration, our body is mainly water. It's saline water. We are water, we are electricity. And if you're full of junk, and if you're dehydrated, you're really going to suffer. The pee, the colon will the colon walls will involuntarily contract, and it will, when you're dehydrated, and it will squeeze the poo in order to extract the moisture, because the body has its own intelligence, and it will squeeze that poo, and then that fecal extracted water will go, ooh, hey darling. Okay, so naughty Poppy. The poo will be squeezed so that the moisture, so fecal extracted moisture, will then pass all the way around the body and through all around the internal organs and the heart and the lungs and all the rest of it. And then you can see by the colour of your pee. So the closer to the colour of poo that your pee is, the more you are suffering from UCD, as the late great Dr. Batman said. I did a meme on Batman. There he is. Look, there's another Batman for you. The great Dr. Batman, got Dr. Batmangalage, and he said that waiting to get thirsty is waiting to die, and he coined the term UCD, unintentional chronic dehydration. And then I went and formatted all of his papers and all of his wonderful lecture cassettes into my little book called Water Therapy. So you don't want your pee to be anything like the colour of poo. You want it to be pretty clear, and that's real basic 101 stuff. So I've been promoting all that stuff for a long time, and you're just going to make your life difficult, but you're not going to be a light warrior. You're going to be like the lady I said that sits there really quite grossly overweight, having 5 or 6 cups of tea with 3 sugars in them each day, and having some donuts and stuff like that, and really not believing that it's going to have an impact on her spiritual development. But of course it does. You can only get up to a certain point when you're that sort of person. So excellent news that now Space Force are coming out with it nice and clear. Another chapter of the book is urine therapy, which is, whilst most yogis in India don't practice it, it's actually a really amazing thing. So once you've got yourself hydrated, then guess what? Once you're eating decent food, your urine isn't going to taste gross, and you can actually have a sip of it each day in a midstream morning, drink it out of a copper cup. Have a look at my my chapter on it. Colloidal silver, you know, I've been pushing colloidal silver heavily for the last 25 years, how to make it yourself, and how, you know, I sell the concentrate, lab made, just 1 drop a day. It's a panacea of life. So if you just start to get that sort of thing into your daily diet, colloidal gold as well, wonderful. Ascension juice, there you go, I said it. Colloidal gold, ascension juice, amazing stuff. You can have vegetable juice and fruit juice as well. Fasting, what do all the animals do when they get poorly? They go and lie in a bush and they wait until they get better. What do? We go to the bloody doctor and take some tablets and have an injection, and look where that's got us. So let's not do that anymore. There aren't going to be doctors around much longer anyway. Yes, I know we've got med beds coming, and in a way that's absolutely wonderful, but in another way I'm scratching my head going, but what about natural hygiene? What about nature cure? I spoke to someone last year or earlier this year, and that they're clinically obese, and we were talking about the future, and he said, well, he's waiting for the med beds to get rolled out because he was believing that they were coming imminently. And he said, but then I'm going to join the gym because it'll be easier to keep the weight off after I've been through the med bed and suddenly magic myself to being a slim person like I am. And I just had to laugh at that. But it's kind of like I'm in dismay at this whole thing, like what happened to actual discipline, because it's actually a wonderful thing. You know, if you actually do the unthinkable and apply discipline to your daily diet and lifestyle, it's difficult at first. Obviously you're going to be clucking, you're going to be missing your silly treats and your pastries and your sausages. But not for long, because you'll soon realize that occupying the higher ground, as I'm here now on the higher ground, but within yourself you'll be on the higher ground. And I only need a few hours sleep each night, and for me, you know, food is having some you know, a nice glass of water with some salt in it, and having a banana with some pecan nuts and a sip of kefir. You know, that's absolutely delicious. Hunger is the best sauce. And if you think that you can only be happy by having pastries and meat, then you're sorely deluded. So we've been going for 17 minutes and 40 seconds. I won't carry on. I like to keep my stuff fairly short, otherwise no one looks at it. So there you go. Have a look at my diet, the diet chapter at least, and just have a think. I'll put it back on the screen now. This is what the PDF said. I forward these, and I put these PDFs up on Lobster Q News Deckless. I also put it on my Facebook account, but every time I publish something like that, I expect to get banned forever. It's my 3rd account. I'm absolutely sick and tired of it, and I never know what I can and can't put on Facebook. I got a warning the other day. It got removed because I dared to put a post up about nasal mist and colloidal gold, and so I'm dizzy with it all. I'm ready just to walk away. But I built my business on Facebook, so if I decided just to walk away completely from Facebook, it would be cutting off my nose to spite my face, and I'd end up on the street, because the censorship has really taken its toll over the last 4 years, and I need to sell a certain amount of colloidal silver and gold each month so that I can pay the criminally high rent and all the bills, which I know are a criminal racket. I know paying the bills is a criminal racket, but unfortunately it goes through my landlady, and there's just no way I can not pay those bills, because it's all done in her name, and I have to pay. And each and every month it's a bit of a struggle. So that wouldn't be the case, you know, 4 years ago. It absolutely wasn't the case, but it is now. So anyway, I digress. This has been James Cooper talking about health and raising your frequency. www.simpletruths.me.uk.